welcome to week 4 of our Baptist Beliefs course. Way to go. You are at the halfway point. I'll do a little dance for you. All right. So I'm excited for all of us that we've made it to this point. Actually, so we get through this week, we'll be halfway through your 8-week course. That's so great. This week we're going to be covering chapters 9 through 11, and mostly those are going to be centered around what we believe about particular ordinances that we find within our belief system as Southern Baptist Christians. And so the first one being the church. We talk about that, the ecclesia. If you've ever heard that word comes from the Greek language, and it's the called out ones, to be called out. And so what is the church? How does the church function as a unit collectively in the ecumenical church across the world? And so how does all of that work? That's one way we're going to start this unit off. So I guess talking about the church and then moving more into those ordinances. And those particular ones we're going to talk about that are very specific to our denominational history are baptism, the Lord's Supper, and the Lord's Day. What biblically do we believe as Baptists about these different ordinances? Baptism, that we, baptizo in the Greek language, that we believe is full submission after our salvation, that we talk about, just as it says in Colossians, this whole image of being buried with baptism, buried with Christ in baptism, and then raised with Him symbolically, just as He was raised realistically in real life after His death on the cross, and that full submersion of the believer in believer's baptism. Of course, then the Lord's Supper, and what is that? What do we believe about those elements that are involved? And how is that symbolic for us in our faith? And then finally, the Lord's Day, and discussing Sabbath and the meaning of Sabbath and how we should approach that today. I love the discussion of Sabbath. I think that's a really important discussion from Genesis to Revelation. Once we see even in Genesis chapter 1, God at first modeling that for us on the 7th day of creation. Modeling, He steps out of His work, creative work, and into that rest. There is no ending to that day. If you remember on the 7th day, it's an eternal day. And I like what Dietrich Bonhoeffer had to say, that man was always jealous that we were created on the 6th day. We were finite. The 7th day belongs to God. It's that eternal day. And so in our resting, in our observance of the Sabbath, how do we too remember that we will rejoin God in that eternal life with Him, that eternal rest and salvation? And we get that microcosm picture of that on the earth on our Sabbath when we take that. So I look forward to, again, dialoguing with you this week in our discussions and the discussion board. So remember to put those up in the timely manner that we'll talk about in your emails and as you've had so far this semester. You're doing great work, ladies, and keep pressing on. I'll see you in there.